Hey there, Blazer fans, and welcome to episode 48 of the Dragon's Den, a podcast for those that bleed green and gold. Today, I'm switching it up a little bit. I've got a former athlete from a club team on campus, and he's now the head coach, Mr. Jakob Hornsby of the UAB Club Hockey team. For those that know Jacob, he was one of the great offensive weapons for the UAB Club Hockey team in their first couple of years. It started in 2016, and he is now back as the head coach for the club hockey team as they have made their resurgence. I won't keep you waiting any longer. Let's go ahead and dive into the episode. All right, Blazer fans, I've got my guest here for episode 48 of the Dragon's Den, a former forward for the UAB Club Hockey team, Mr. Jakob Hornsby, and he is now the current head coach. Jacob, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Will. How about you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm happy to have you on. Just to kind of give my listeners a little bit of background info. I was covering you guys from the very start. I was doing a little bit of hockey radio coverage for you guys. And I also was writing for the campus newspaper at UAB, the Kaleidoscope, and I covered a few of y'all's games. So definitely great to have you on, and I'm glad to see you're doing well. So
yeah, appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, we'll go ahead and dive into some of the questions I got for you to kind of give my listeners a little bit more information about you, because some of the guests I've had on before, people might remember the name, scholarship athletes and stuff, but where are you from and what got you into hockey at a young age?
Sure. I'm actually from the Birmingham area originally. I started off school in the Helena, Alabaster area, moved up to Trussville from there, and went to UAB. So I've been in Birmingham my entire life. As far as getting started in hockey, my mom's from Minnesota, so I kind of had a step up in that regard, and my dad kind of got me into it from an early age. So I've been playing hockey for 23 years now. So, it's something that they got me into from an early age, and I've been kind of running with it ever since. So very glad they did.
Awesome. Well, so you mentioned you went to UAB, and obviously I wouldn't have you on if you didn't go there. But
Right.
what made you choose UAB? Were you considering any other colleges coming out of high school? But what made you land at UAB?
Sure. It was between Auburn and UAB. One aspect of it was proximity to home. I was going to be able to stay at home if I went to UAB. I also had some family ties, both at UAB and Auburn. My mom went to UAB. My dad went to Auburn. And so, definitely love both of those schools. At the end of the day, it was more of a test taking ability that landed me at UAB. And it's one of those things that is kind of a blessing in disguise that you don't realize it until later. So definitely glad it happened that way. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Okay. I kind of mentioned, you got started. It wasn't that long ago. We were still less than within a decade from when you guys started out. But how did the club team at UAB first come about?
Sure. So to begin, I believe that was 2016. I played over in Atlanta for the Atlanta Fire in 2015 or 2016 rather, and started school that fall. And I kind of had just assumed that my hockey career was over, and that was that. And I just had a couple people reach out to me saying that they were trying to get a team started, and they were trying to have one game this semester against Mississippi State, and the rest is history as far as how all of that kind of got started. But I wasn't really overly involved to begin with, in that process. But shortly after, once they kind of got started, whether it be, Ryan Cowson was one of the original founders, or Dave Monaco, Adil Patel, those guys were all people that got the club started in the very beginning and let me know about it. And, I wanted to be involved in every way possible as soon as I found out that they were going to be doing that, because at that point I realized maybe my hockey career isn't over. So I was very happy about it.
UAB's inaugural game was in 2016, as you mentioned, against Mississippi State, April 2nd of 2016 to be exact. You played in it. What was it like for you and your teammates? Environment. What was the game like?
It was sloppy. Any Southern collegiate hockey could be that way. But everybody out there was beyond excited, including myself. I had never experienced anything like that. There were so many people there, so much excitement. I remember Dave Monaco, his dad, was our coach for that game, and he turned to me after my second shift or something like that. I don't remember if we had scored a goal or something, but he said, "Welcome to college hockey," or something to that effect. And that really resonated with me. And I think about it a lot. So that's one of my most fondest memories, that game. And I certainly watch some of the videos of it on YouTube every once and again to make sure I remember it. So
UAB got the 11-10 win. For any hockey savants, I'm sure that they would probably cringe at the score, but I was in attendance, and so was some of my family members, and we were just eating it up. We thought it was amazing. But yeah. So fast forward a little bit, UAB's first few seasons were very competitive with wins over teams like LSU, Mississippi State, Middle Tennessee, Auburn, Tennessee, and a few others. Some of the teams you faced more than others. What was it like playing against these teams?
it was awesome. Especially growing up being a fan of some of those teams, and the historical greatness from a football and other collegiate sports standpoint. The name that surrounds that. That's a one reason that a lot of people go to the games is because of the name recognition, especially here in the South. But going to the other teams wherever they play, whether it's Auburn and Columbus or Tennessee up in Knoxville, all those games were just extremely fun to be in. It's awesome to see some people that I went to high school with or not, or played with growing up or something to that effect, that are playing on other teams now, and kind of reminiscing with them a little bit. So it was awesome from a competitiveness standpoint, but also the fans and kind of rekindling some of those friendships from youth hockey and seeing them again. So a lot of aspects going on there, but it was a terrific time.
You guys weren't in the American Club Hockey Association at the time, but played many teams that were in it. What was the process like for scheduling and travel?
Sure. That was definitely a hurdle. And it was a hurdle that we were really, really trying to get over. And I'm sure, as we'll discuss later, we have gotten over it in this stint. So definitely glad we have done that. In the early times, scheduling aspect of things, that was all student run. So it's kind of as soon as the prior season ends, everybody's reaching out trying to fill up the open slots as quick as they can. So it was definitely kind of a difficult process from a scheduling standpoint. Travel, once again, was all student handled. We actually had some great people at the time. Lily Gasson was her name, and Heather Boyle at the time. They really assisted a lot with helping with hotels or Airbnb, whatever we needed to do in that regard. So it was kind of a cumulative effort. A lot of tasks being delegated to other people, but at the end of the day, it was all student run. So it was very difficult. A lot of work that went into it. A lot of financial aspects of it too. So it was very difficult to do, and like I said, the biggest hurdle of all was getting into the ACHA, or the governing body at that time. Now it's become College Hockey South, obviously. So that's our ultimate goal now as well.
Okay. What was, like I mentioned, and you mentioned some of the names that you guys played against. What were, some of the toughest environments you played in as a player on the team?
Without a doubt, Kentucky or EKU, any team in the state of Kentucky, apparently. They had a Midnight Madness game, and they absolutely packed it out, and they were ready to play. And that was one of the more intimidating games I've ever played in, but I ate it up. I loved it. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I think I recall telling some guy he paid $7 to watch me play so he can be quiet, or something to that effect. So, I fed into it a little bit, and I had fun with it. So did they. But it was truly an awesome atmosphere, and they whooped up on us pretty good. So I guess they got the last laugh in the end.
Well, I mostly talk with former scholarship athletes on official teams at UAB. You kind of talked about it a little bit here, but what is life like as a club team athlete?
Sure.
Juggling classes, jobs, getting your own equipment. What's it like?
Yeah, I mean, it's a full-time job in of its own. It's from a scheduling standpoint, you got to do like I said, scheduling, recruiting. You got to handle the financial aspects of it, from dues and ice times and different things like that. The equipment that goes along with it. That's something that each player is going to have to individually get on their own. So it's not only a burden financially, but it's also a burden from a workload. I mean, like I said, it's like a full-time job. At one point I was the president as well, so I was handling a lot of the scheduling and day-to-day social media and management from a financial, trying to generate sponsorships and everything like that. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and I've made it clear to the current leadership that I understand how much work that is, and I'm willing to help in any way I can, and try to make sure to delegate tasks to everybody that they can as well, because at the end of the day, it is a lot of work. So
Yeah. Well, the pandemic hit and everything kind of came to a grinding halt. I'm not saying the club hockey team shut down, but with everything going on and so much uncertainty, there was a long period of time before UAB club hockey hit the ice again. From your perspective, what struggles did the team face during, the time from the pandemic until this last year?
yeah, I mean, everybody was affected by the pandemic, obviously. The scheduling was the main issue. I mean, it's tough to play somebody when you're not allowed to go to them. And a lot of schools were not letting their club teams travel, during that time period. So it's tough to schedule games in that regard. Recruiting, you can't really do a whole lot of recruiting aspects of things. Fans can't come to games, so that takes away any revenue flow that you might have, as well as from ticket sales to merchandise sales. So it was a struggle at the time, and I think that saying that it shut down for a while there is a fair, that's a fair way to look at it. But the biggest thing, in my opinion, was getting the infrastructure back. For this team to be successful, as far as having enough people, having the people in place from a leadership standpoint that know what they need to do to get things done, and have the proper, avenues of communication to ask for help if they do need help. And I really think that they're in a good spot now in that regard. So we felt like now was the time to try to go ahead and get everything restarted and ramped back up. So very proud of them for doing that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. UAB Club Hockey is now back. Who are some of the main people responsible for leading the charge to bring it back?
Absolutely, some of the behind the scenes people. Joseph Hume, he's been our biggest all-star. He's the president of the club this year. He's handled most of the scheduling, financials, and I'm in his ear letting him know I've been there, I've done that. I know how difficult it is. So if you need me to help with something, if you need to delegate tasks, let me know. I want to help in every way that I can, because I know how difficult it can be. Stephen Carey is another guy that helped in getting the process started. He's been great for us. Maddox Molinax, who was a member of the team back in 2016, he's finishing up his last year of grad school now, and he's eating it up. He's loving it. He's been great for us, and been a huge advocate as far as from a marketing standpoint, getting our name back out there, as well as making sure that stuff gets disseminated on social media. He's the first to share it on everything. So another guy that has been instrumental in that is Will Creech. He's similar to Stephen and Joseph, was kind of like the Dave Monaco or a Dil Patel or Ryan Calson of this second group. Part of that core group that really got it started again, and kind of made sure that the mountains that needed to be moved got moved. So very proud of those three, especially, and Maddox for sticking around as well.
Last month, it was announced that UAB is joining the College Hockey South League. You mentioned it earlier. They were formerly the American Club Hockey Association, and you'll be a Division III member. How important of a move was this for the team?
Yeah, as I stated earlier, that was the biggest step for us back in when we originally got started, and it's the biggest step now. They've been able to succeed in that regard this time. Very proud of them for that. It's very important to get into a division. It helps grow your name, not only through the hockey community, but to people looking about where they're going to be going to school next season. So that there's a ton of different aspects of why that's important. But name recognition from other teams that we're playing, from players that might be going to school next semester, as well as just the that being the biggest step to begin with, of being, I guess, a benchmark of success for the program. So we've finally gotten over that hurdle. Now it's time to move on to bigger and better things, and really hit the ground running.
All right, Jacob, my next question for you, I'm kind of lumping in with one of my social media questions I got, and it's from a guy you just mentioned a minute ago, Maddox Molinax. You're head coach now for the team. And Maddox asked, how does your mindset change from being a player versus being a coach? And I'll go ahead and ask that first, and then I'll get the second part in just a minute. But he asked, how does your mindset change from being a player versus being a coach?
Sure. I would say that the biggest difference so far has been an emotional type thing. It's, when you're a player, you internalize some of those emotions to will you to win. You take some of that emotion, that raw emotion, and you apply it to what you're doing, and that pushes you over the top. As a coach, you have to instill that idea that you need to push yourself and have that raw emotion, but channel it in a way that is a net positive for the team. So, as a player, I would say that I'm definitely more emotional as a player, in a good way, and I think that helps me. But as a coach, you kind of have to be more standoffish and try to instill that in other players rather than trying to do it yourself. So it's definitely been a learning curve, but the boys have really responded well, and especially Maddox.
And the second part of his question is, and how does it feel to be on the other side of the whistle during suies?
It feels great. I'll leave it at that. It feels great.
All right, Maddox, just wanted to appreciate you for the question. And for anybody that wants to follow him on Instagram, it's Maddox Malinax, all one word. And I'll go to my next question. Tell me about some of the guys on the team now. What can Blazer fans expect from this group of players?
Sure. So some of the guys that we have that I've already mentioned, Joseph Hume, he's the president, been an intricate part of everything we've done. Jasper Franklin, he's another wing for us, and he's been doing great things, and he's had great energy, bought into everything that we're trying to do. We have a couple of guys that are in grad school, Evan Schieber and Logan Weber, that have been, some of our best players, and definitely intricate piece to the team. Stephen Carey, as I've said, has been very involved in the planning of the team, as well as being at, I believe, every game. So you can't complain with that at all. And we got our goalie. His name's Garrett Clemens. He's he's a little bit older now. He's I believe he's a junior, maybe a sophomore or junior, but he's a little bit older, like young 30s or something to that effect, and he's still kind of getting caught back up to the physical aspects of hockey, and so there's a little bit of a curve on that, but he's doing great, and we really appreciate him. Chase Devins, he's been a rock on defense for us all season so far. He's our captain at this moment. Ralph, I can't pronounce his last name. It's you'll have to go look that one up and decipher it yourself. But he's been intricate on defense for us as well. And then we have a couple others, Christian Noor, and a couple of others that I'm probably leaving off, but they've all been super important. And, in your first year, you need everybody to buy in like that to have success. And they've really done that. And, I appreciate that as a coach. And, through trial and tribulation, they've kept their chins up and pride held high. So, I'm very proud of them for that. And there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere but up to go from here. So we're very excited for it.
Yeah. So I know it's tough to have early success. I mean, you got this new group of guys together, but I know you've gotten a couple of wins already so far. How is the season going so far?
Yeah. At the beginning of the season, I told the guys that I'm not concerned about what the final score of the game is, what the final record is. I'm not concerned with any of that. What I'm concerned about is I want to see that you care. I want to see effort. And one thing that I've told them time and time again is that UAB fans, they don't care if you win necessarily. They're more about the effort, the intensity, playing for the name on the front of the jersey rather than the name on the back. So when you go out there and play, I tell them, I don't care what you did last play. I want you to focus on the next play, because at the end of the day, if you're putting in the effort, you can be down 15-0 and your fans will still support you. Your teammates will still support you, and I will still support you. So at the end of the day, that's all that matters. And we've had a few instances, early on in this season where that was the case. We played Alabama, and that was the case. Played Auburn, and that was the case. And somewhat similar situation with Tennessee as well. So we're accustomed to that, and they've kept their chins held high. and have not turned on each other, and they've remained a team. And I was beyond thankful that they did that. And then to turn around, drive 8 hours up to Dayton, Ohio, and beat a team twice, and then head home. It just goes to show the level of commitment and professionalism that they've adopted and continue to push forward. And another good example of that is this weekend we played at Ole Miss, or this past weekend we played at Ole Miss, and the first game we were short a few players and had a bit of a rough game. And the second game we came out with even shorter players, and I mean we must have blocked 60 shots. And to be in your second game of the weekend in the third period, you got no legs and you're bruised on every inch of your body and you're still blocking shots. That shows me that you care. And so I told them after the game that I can't be any more proud of you. I can't ask for anything else other than what you're doing for me right now. So, I appreciate you guys. I want you to know that I appreciate you guys. And, if you do these things, that is what winning hockey is. And if you do those things time and time again, you'll instill a culture of winning. So that's what we're working on getting together. And I think that we've had great success so far this season in building up to that point. And I really hope that throughout our last, 6 or 7, 8 games, whatever we got left, that we're able to continue to build on that and take that success and momentum into next season as well.
Coach, you got me fired up. I'm ready to I'm ready to hop on the ice. I'll tell you what.
Hey, I'll teach you. I'll coach you.
So what can we expect from the remaining schedule?
Sure. So as far as our remaining schedule, obviously this weekend we play APSU, Austin P at home. That'll be our official home opener. We're expecting a big crowd for that one. Boys are extremely excited for that one. So I hope everyone can make it out, and believe it's free admission as well. So no reason for you not to come. And then after that, we take on LSU. The week after that, we'll go down to Baton Rouge there. I think they're actually in Lafayette, but wherever they play exactly, we go down to LSU. And then after that, we have Dayton at home and LSU at home before we head off to APSU on the road. And those other 2 home games are March 1st and 2nd and March 22nd and 23rd. So really looking forward to those. I know our guys will be, riled up to be able to play a game at home. We've been on the road for a good while, so they're chomping at the bit to get out there and prove themselves again.
That's awesome. So how do you feel about the future of UAB Club Hockey?
The future is bright. The future is bright. Everybody that's in that locker room is committed, and I'm committed as well. We got a couple of guys that we already know that are going to be going to UAB next semester or after the summer into next fall. And, we're going ahead and getting some recruiting aspects started and trying to get some people to transfer, whatever we can do to, further add to our roster for next season. We're doing it. But with the core group that we got, we're losing very few guys for next season. So I really feel that we're in a good spot, to continue to grow what we have and expound on it as well.
Awesome. So how can my listeners engage with you?
Well, first and foremost, I got to give a shout out to UAB Hockey. You can check out UAB Hockey on their Instagram. It's UAB_hockey. I ran that social media for years, so it's kind of my pride and joy. Now I've delegated that to somebody else, but they're doing a great job and putting out some great media. So go check them out there. UAB Hockey Club on Facebook is where you can check them out. They're doing a great job on that as well. As far as me, I'm not really on a whole lot of social media. You can find me on Instagram at Jakob Hornsby, Jakob.
Okay. And Jacob, I got 5 questions to end the podcast here. Just to have a little fun. Have a little fun with it, man. All right. Number 1, who's your favorite hockey player of all time and your favorite team?
I would have to go Wayne Gretzky, the generic answer, and Nashville Predators just because of proximity to home.
Oh, yes. I appreciate that answer. Go Preds. Go Preds.
There you go.
All right, number 2, what's your typical go-to activity for a Saturday without a game?
If I don't have a game, I'm probably going to be hanging out with some friends, tossing the pigskin, shooting we have a hockey net here we put out in the street. So play some street hockey. One of the few people in Alabama that are doing that on a Saturday. Other than that, watch sports, basically just anything active. Like to hang out with friends, do that sort of stuff.
Okay. Any superstitious things that you or a teammate might have, from the past might have done before or after games, lucky clothing, handshakes, anything like that?
I think I have a couple examples of this actually. Currently, I'm not sure if you remember JP French. He
Yep.
played with us, and he's helping with some of the coaching and duties, especially during practices. But him and I have a handshake that we do every time before we step on the ice. So I guess you could call that a superstition. We back in the 2016 to 2020 when I was on the team, we would always play the same songs before the game and the same song afterward, depending on whether we won or lost. So we had the same song, and I believe it was "You Can't Always Get What You Want" by the Rolling Stones. It was the song we played if we lost, and "Sweet Caroline" was the song we played if we won. Also pretty generic, but definitely a good one. And the only other example that I can think of that, growing up, I was an Auburn fan, and I guess you could say I still am. Go Blazers, but I guess you could still consider me an Auburn fan over Alabama, anyways. But anytime that we would play Auburn, I would wear Auburn socks under my skates. I don't know if that's a sign of respect or what the reasoning was behind it, but we had a winning record against them while I was there, so something was working.
Nice. I don't know if this is a superstition thing or just a tradition or whatever, but my family always had the tradition after every hockey game that we go to and you guys won, we go get Krispy Kreme donuts on Highway 31. So that's our kind of our own tradition, I guess. But
We
whatever
did the
works.
same thing with we did the same thing with Whataburger in Pelham.
Very nice.
Honey
Very
butter
nice.
chicken biscuits.
So if you had a goal song, what would it be? And if you had a goal song at one point, feel free to say it. But if you had a goal song, what would it be?
I don't know if I would consider it a goal song. Just one that got me hyped up, I guess you could say. Superstar by Lupe Fiasco, if you've ever heard that one.
Yeah.
That was always one of my go-tos.
Okay. All right. And last one, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your chirping ability on the ice? And for those that are not too familiar with hockey terminology, chirping is basically trash talk. But how would you rate your chirping on a scale of 1 to 10?
When I'm a player, it's a 10 out of 10. I've been told that I'm extremely mean on the ice. I say that I'm just getting into your head. As a coach, like I've said, you can't be quite as emotional. So I've been more laid back, and any discussions that need to be had with referees or anything like that are delegated to captains. I like it a lot better that way, to be honest with you. So 10 out of 10 as a player, but I tend to keep my mouth closed as a coach.
Awesome. Well, Jacob, man, I really appreciate it. Great catching up with you again. It's great to see that you guys are back on the ice. I know I was fired up when you guys first started, and I was definitely fired up to see you come back. So great catching
Absolutely.
up with you, and hoping for the best. If you're a Blazer fan, get on out to the Pelham Civic Complex and come see these guys. They deserve every bit of support. Just like we pour in every other bit of support for every other sport. So get on out and support these guys. Jacob, thanks again.
Appreciate it, Will. Hopefully we can have myself, maybe a couple of the players on again. We really appreciate you.
Yeah, man. Thanks. Go Blazers.
Go Blazers.
All right. I want to thank Jacob so much for being on. It was definitely great to talk to him again. I loved covering these guys when I was a student at UAB for the UAB Kaleidoscope campus newspaper and for Blaze Radio, and whether it was just live tweeting too. These guys were awesome. Definitely got to know a few of them while they were still students and playing for the team. So it's great to see them all doing well now, and I'm glad to see the team back. So if you're a UAB fan or a casual hockey fan, get out to the Pelham Civic Complex and support these guys. I hope that we can support them for many more years. And I'll have more details about them and cover more of their games in the near future and provide any updates that I can on social media. So be on the lookout for that. You can follow me at Dragons Den EFEL. That's at Dragons Den EFEL on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And as Jacob mentioned, follow the UAB Club Hockey team on Facebook and Instagram. And I hope to see you and many other Blazer fans out at the Pelham Civic Complex to support these guys. And that will do it for episode 48 of the Dragons Den. Be on the lookout for my next guest announcement for episode 49 coming soon. and game updates for other UAB sports. Thanks again for listening. Good night, and go Blazers.